just put the mic closer to my face. We have a very, very packed agenda tonight, culminating with our honored guest this evening, Senator Bernie Sanders. We got a couple housekeeping items. First and foremost, these seats up here are saved for people with mobility issues, but we also ask that you come on up and take a seat and help fill some of these seats in the front. But if you see someone with a mobility issue, we ask that you please give up your seat and allow them to sit at the front. Does that sound good, folks? Second of all, who here uses Twitter? Or who here yells at their students using Twitter in the classroom? All right, well, we got a couple of hashtags. Hashtag number 1. Put it in writing. I don't have to spell that out to you because you are some very intelligent folks. Put it in writing. And hashtag number 2, pretty simple, fair contract now. Contract now. All right, one more time. So, can I hear you say, fair contract now? Fair contract now. Put it in writing! All right! So, excellent. We also ask that if you are sitting in the front or you're standing, that you not block the cameras behind you with your signs, all right? So that is another important housekeeping item. So, I want to give out a shout out to CTU Passages Charter School members who voted unanimously to strike Asian Human Services Charter Operator yesterday. Refusing to sign off on sanctuary to protect the school's overwhelmingly immigrant, refugee students and families. And so they're going to go out on strike to fight for their children, to fight for their families. We also want to give a shout out to the Evergreen Park Federation of Teachers. They wanted to be here tonight, but they're preparing for their Board of Education meeting happening tomorrow night, where they hope to give one final push to the board to settle their contract without a strike. Please give them a big round of applause. In the labor movement. Is SEIU Helpca in the house? All right. We got National Nurses United in the house. Where are nurses at? Who went out on a historic strike, the first one ever in Chicago medicine, just a few days ago. All right. So are y'all ready? Yeah. Are y'all ready? Yeah. Are there some SEIU Local 73 workers that voted 97% to strike in the house? We have Reverend Robert Jones from Mount Carmel Missionary Baptist Church and a diet hunger striker. Please give him a round of applause.
Just before I settle us down with this invocation, I just have 3 words that I would like you all to repeat after me. Fair contract now. Fair contract now. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for allowing us this opportunity to come together. We ask that you would invoke your blessings upon us. We know that in your word it says that when justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. We pray that we have the strength to stand with those who would do justice. We pray that we would have the strength to stand against those who would not. It is in your name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Amen.
Next up, we got Dan Montgomery, president of the mighty Fighting Illinois Federation of Teachers. Thank you. Hey, let's hear it for all of you Carlos from Arizona. I like this city where we have all the men and women like them. Listen, I want to say to our CTU family that the IFT family around this state, from Gurnee in the north to Granite City in the south, and further
South, down to Joppa, Maple Grove, and Benton, down to Kentucky, from Quincy in the west to Chicago right here. We are with you, brothers and sisters. We're with you. Local One is the beating heart and soul of the IFT and of the AFT. All right! You are willing to put everything you have on the line for your schools, for the children you teach, for your communities. I taught high school in Skokie, okay? Magically, you cross Howard Street. What happens? I had 20 kids, class size, in my contract. If they put 21 kids in, you could go to the principal or the director and they would take that child out. And sometimes they'd start a new section. Why? Because it's in the contract. Why was it in the contract? It's good for children. It's good for children. To their child and say, man, I really hope you have more kids in your class tomorrow. Let's get 30, 32, 34, 40. Why is it in my high school where I taught, we had almost 10 counselors for 2,000 kids. We had 6 social workers. We had 4 school psychologists. We had 2 speech paths. We had 5 nurses. Why? Why? When in Chicago, you have 1 psychologist spreading themselves thin between multiple schools. You have libraries with books, but no librarians. So what's the solution? The solution is solidarity. The solution is striking if you need to. The solution is holding those with the keys to the kingdom the power to do right by our children, to do right by our children. Family in SEIU 73. If you teach, you know that schools don't work without support staff. The nurses on strike in the city of Chicago, the University of Chicago Medical Center, that's a strike for life and death. They're striking for the lives of their patients. Now on strike, the longest strike in the UAW since 1970 at GM. What are they doing? They're striking for their economic lives so they can raise kids, they can buy a home, they can have insurance, send their kids to college. It's the American dream. It's labor! Thank you for the shout-out to our Evergreen Park brothers and sisters, 220 teachers and paraprofessionals standing up for reasonable insurance, for a living wage for their support staff. We have the Passages Charter, as you said. They took their strike vote, and I see my time is up. So I also want to thank Senator Sanders for doing more than any one person, I think, in my lifetime.
On the front lines of that struggle for a very long time. She took out the bad fields that have taken so much money from our parks and schools. Give it up for Amisha Patel.
Good evening. My name is Amisha Patel and I'm Executive Director of Grassroots Collaborative. Chicago is the place to be tonight. But Chicago is a place to be every single day because we are here pushing past racist austerity measures and creating a new way forward. We are imagining and building a city that puts librarians, teaching assistants, special ed classroom assistants, social workers, teachers, students, and parents at the center. Grassroots Collaborative brings together workers and community leaders in our shared fight for economic and racial justice. We work to challenge not only politicians, but the racist corporate power whose agenda those politicians are beholden to too often of the time. Because we know that when there is money, that there is money for the things our people need. That this crisis is manufactured and it's intentional. For example, in 2011, Rahm Emanuel did two things in his first budget. He closed mental health clinics and he got rid of the corporate head tax, which would have paid for the mental health clinics and many more. So this is the thing, right? So Grassroots Collaborative and a coalition of community organizations are fighting to win a budget this year that invests in communities, divests from policing, and prioritizes progressive revenue. We need leadership that will fight for what communities need. We need Lori Lightfoot to open mental health public clinics, and we need of how the city and Chicago Public Schools is broke on purpose. Grassroots Collaborative and our funds Raise Your Hand filed a lawsuit against the Lincoln Yards mega TIF development. Because we know that this wealthy developer does not need $1.3 billion of our taxpayer to build that development. So we're disappointed that the judge ruled against our ability to file the lawsuit, but they did not rule against the merit of the case. So we are going to continue to fight and organize to make sure that we have real TIF reform. Because we know that to build Chicago where Black Lives Matter, where immigrant families have the resources they need, where the needs of working families come before the wants of the wealthy, we must educate, we must organize, we must strike, and we must never give up. Thank you.
We represent 300 unions that in turn represent 500,000 working women and men right here in the city of Chicago, including every single person here. From teachers to nurses to those who work keeping our schools clean from SEIU 73. And I want to tell you, when any union here in Chicago goes out on strike, we've got your back. My local union actually went out on strike for 7 days, and we got a contract. Now, a year ago, the hotel workers went out on strike for 4 weeks, settled 29 out of 30 hotels, and out of those 29, they got a contract. We got one more that's still on strike. So when you guys are done with your business, I need you to go down to the Cambria Hotel off of Michigan Avenue and help for 7 weeks. You guys went on strike. The third rail of educational politics is taking away a teacher's prep time and stepping on their dignity. Isn't that right? And sometimes it's not all about one thing, but it's certainly about everything. And for my time working here in labor, and working with the teachers union, I've seen a lot of things go in a direction that they shouldn't have gone in. Taking away, it started with Mayor Daley taking away your bargaining rights. Then he brought in a superintendent, who I'll never say his name. But he was here for way too long, and then he went to Washington, and then he was way too wrong. But what you're doing here today, and that goes for every member of SEIU and every member of CTU, is you're not just going on strike for yourselves, you're going on strike for your children. So own fucking nursing. Social worker. And doesn't every school deserve to have a teacher willing to go on strike to fight for them? The guy with the sign and Carlos standing here off my right. They want me to abdicate my place here on the stage, and I'm going to do that in 1 second. But I want you to know that the Chicago labor movement is a very special place. It's the hometown of the American labor movement. And the reason why we're the hometown of the American labor movement is we're ready to fight. We're ready to fight. We will fight in the streets. We will fight in the negotiating room. And we will fight until we have our last breath. But the fight that we have is righteous. Because we are out there not only lifting up the working class of this city, but we're lifting up the people that we serve in our communities. So if it's time to strike, then fucking strike.
From Taft High School. From Stevenson Elementary. And Jamie Shaw from Shoesmith Elementary teacher. Please come on up, folks.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Schnall, and I am a National Board Certified Physical Education teacher at Shoesmith Elementary. I have a very unique perspective with class sizes because I, like many physical educators, see every class and child in my building. When I started this school year with 40 kindergarten students, I'll be honest, I panicked. A little. Like many physical education teachers, I don't have 40 pieces of equipment for any unit in my closet. I'm usually blessed with about 25 pieces, and most of the time I invent new ways to make supplies. I have work for the growing number of students in my classes. When my students, my kindergarten students, are waiting for their turn, they ask me, why can't I play? And I tell them that they need to wait their turn. But why should they? Large class sizes aren't just happening in my kindergarten through second grade classrooms. They're happening in every grade level in my building. I have multiple classrooms with 31 and 32 students. Large classes take more time in PE, as I'm sure they do in the classroom. More time to plan, more time for the students to practice new skills, more time to incorporate those skills into multiple lifelong activities, and more time for each student to have that individual teacher attention that our children so greatly deserve. Large class sizes are truly an epidemic in my building and in many other schools in CPS. They are just not appropriate. We need class size limits. Thank you.
Once a union is always a union. So we got a brother from SEIU Local 73, my colleague and a freedom fighter, Alderman Byron Sancho Lopez of the
What a great honor and pleasure to be here with you, my brothers and sisters from SEIU 73, and also the almighty CTU. Great to see. I like the colors. I like the red and I like the purple. And I tell you, the baby is scared because this is the coalition that elected me alderman in the first place. But all the brothers and sisters, all on the streets, door knocking, serving our children on a daily basis, who have made the difference. And why this fight is so important today more than ever is because not only we see the dark times, one of the darkest chapters in our history in the U.S., when we see families separated, children terrorized, engaged, but also we see our kids being brutalized in our own backyard. The police brutality, the violence that consumed many, many lives. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when we had a neoliberal mayor that now works in Wall Street, where he belongs, our brothers and sisters said no more. I was in a community when I was an organizer, and we kept our schools open. It was this coalition that saved 2 schools. I know how hard you fight. Because of you, we saved 2 schools. Those schools today are thriving. And I tell you today, more than ever before, we need to make sure that we have nurses, social workers, librarians, and everything that children deserve. When they tell us that these were radical ideas that we could never take on a corrupt alderman, we did it. And we did all the machines. And I tell you one thing. When Rallies said the same thing, that he was more powerful than the mighty SEIU and the people, we show what people power looks like. And that's what we're going to show them again. This coalition, this powerful coalition, the power of right will prevail. When we organize, we win.
Stevenson Elementary. Please give a round of applause.
Buenas noches. My name is Norma Noriega, and I am a proud bilingual teacher, and I want to tell you why I voted yes today for a strike. I've seen newcomers not receive bilingual services because they had me as their math teacher, and that was compliance enough. That ain't right. I've seen schools get rid of bilingual teachers of color when bilingual educators are hard to come by. That's not right. Bilingual teachers are working twice as hard because of the lack of quality resources and the lack of culturally relevant curriculum, so we have to make our own. Across CPS, English language program teachers have been reduced to paperwork roles when they should be servicing students. My heart broke when I see my students' spirits wilt as they're taking these standardized tests that are not even an accurate measurement of their content. Because the language is inaccessible to them. How are you going to measure their content when they're still learning the language? My heart breaks when I see my second graders develop motor tics and stutters because they had test anxiety. It's not right. These kids are 7 and 8 years old. They should not be experiencing testing anxiety. Our students are terrified of ICE, and they're enduring trauma with the deportations and the fear affecting their lives. These are injustices, and we are demanding better bilingual education and sanctuary for all of our students.
of SEIU 73, Diane Palmer.
President of SEIU Local 73. All over the great state of Illinois. Thank you, SEIU Local 73 members. But thank you, CTU members. Most of all, thank you to Bernie Sanders for coming to be with us today. Better outcomes, better future, better parks, and better communities. We all know that we can't have better schools and better parks unless we respect the workers that do the work. SEIU Local 73 stands with CTU. We stand with CTU, and we stand with all workers fighting for a better future. In the midst of his busy campaign schedule, it means the world to us. I would like to introduce to you two of our SEIU leaders. These leaders will give you details of the struggles that we are having inside of SEIU Local 73. We have Rallies Soto, Senior Security Officer in the Chicago Public Schools, and we have Becky Kleiber, the Park Supervisor in the Chicago Park District. While they prepare to speak, I just want to say this. If they don't do it, shut it down.
I'm so sorry. This is too tall. Let's make that clear. I am over this business for the big boys. My name is Rallies Soto, and I am a safety and security officer for the Board of Education. I've dedicated my time, I've dedicated my career to the board to helping our students that come every day, that come from across the city, from the south end of Chicago to go to school to the north end of Chicago, because the south side school don't have the ability to house them with the supplies they need to succeed. So they have to travel across the city to be able to get that quality education that they deserve. Why is that? Why do they have to travel across the city to get that education? Why cannot they go in their community neighborhoods and get that same quality education that we wake up every day just like these kids do. We bust, we hump, we make sure that they have what they need to succeed. Safety and security officers make sure that they are equipped in a safe school so they can learn. Seek us, provide that with their cluster kids to make sure they have the tools so that they can succeed. Work and struggle multiple hours and don't get recognized nor paid the money that they deserve for making sure that these children go home safely. Custodian workers do not have the supplies to be able to clean their schools because you have corporations that invest in schools that don't even clean the schools. They don't do anything but stand there. Our custodian workers that work for CPS need to be rehired again and introduced to all of us. I am here as a proud member of the Chicago City. This city that I was born and raised in. My family is a minority. My family does come from Central America. They bust and they humped here just like most of our immigrants have. For a better future, for a better way for their children, just like everybody else here does. A lot of our parent workers that work in these schools are from Latin American communities. They make sure that their kids go to school just like everybody else does. They also get paid very less than what anybody else deserves. They need to get recognized as well. They are people, they are our citizens in this city of Chicago. We need to make sure that we invest in our students, in our schools, in our communities, and our teachers, as well as our support staff.
We are proud members of SEIU Local 73. Our parks here in Chicago are some of the most celebrated parks across the United States. We believe our work is important to the residents of Chicago. We provide recreational, safe activities for youth and teens during the out-of-school hours, and so much more. We put children first, and we are the best deal in town. We are always here for the citizens of Chicago. Whether it's 50 degrees below zero, 110 heat index, or a teacher strike, we have always been there for the citizens of Chicago. That maintain those parks. We're predominantly a part-time staff with no benefits, no holiday pay. Currently, the proposal is asking those of us who have health care benefits to increase our payments by 100%. We haven't seen a cost of living wage increase that truly keeps up with the skyrocketing costs of living in Chicago. We're forced to live in a city that we cannot afford. Meanwhile, management gave themselves up to a 20% raise, but offered us 2%. Now we know Bernie knows a thing or two about affordable health care, and we know his long history of standing with all workers. And that's why we couldn't be more thrilled to have him and all of you here to make this next announcement. For the past few weeks, park workers have been casting their vote to authorize a strike in the event we don't reach a fair contract. This weekend, the votes were counted, and I'm excited to announce that over 94%. It's time to invest in our schools and in the communities of our city. Thank you.
I need you all to take out your phone, and this is a very important number, 69238. I want you to text STRIKE to 69238. Again, that's text STRIKE, S-T-R-I-K-E, to 69238. And we're going to send you some updates as this fight evolves and continues for the city and the schools and the parks we deserve. So, you know, when CTU went on strike, what was it, 2012? Did I get my history right? That was like a big bang that was felt across the city and all across this nation. It gave us Red for Ed, where teachers all across this nation put on that red shirt and went out on strike for their schools.
movement candidates, individuals that were committed to fighting hand in hand with working class Chicagoans for the schools in the city we deserve. Individuals like Byron Sigler Lopez, individuals like Rosanna Rodriguez, and individuals like the next freedom fighter, someone that went out on strike for her school, someone that went on strike for her community, someone who is now leading the fight in the Chicago City Council, my colleague, my comrade, 20th Ward Alderman Jeanette Taylor.
As a mother who is recently deceased, I say thank you to SEIU and CTU, because if it was not for you, I don't know what I would do. And so I always say that teachers are co-parents. Who spends more time with my child than me, my child's teacher? And so this is a righteous fight. You all are not wrong. Organization that went to Pittsburgh, we went to Baltimore, we went to Detroit, we went to New Orleans, and we showed them that you can fight back. And it's no secret that the nurses are going on strike. Everybody is going on strike in the city. GM, everybody is going on strike. We're at a time in our lives where we can't be silent anymore. We're at a time in our lives where we got to stand and fight for each other. I am in this seat because of you, and I'm humble and I thank you. And every time that I walk in City Hall, I take you with me. And so, the last thing I'll say is, they're going to come on with the come on. We're going to get it in writing. We've been bamboozled too many times, not to be smart enough to get this in writing. The last thing I'll say is, we're at the time in our life where we got to let it burn.
He's one of our union brothers. He's the founding board member of Freedom of the Press Foundation. You might recognize him from a couple movies. John Cusack.
Start off by saying something that I think is a little bit radical. Might not be acceptable. But I think in the richest country in the world, two teachers living together should not have to take a vow of poverty to educate our kids. As far as Senator Sanders goes, as long as I can remember, in the 80s they came up with this thing called C-SPAN, where they put cameras into the Congress and you could hear what everybody said. And now we got YouTube, so as Nina Turner says, we got the receipts. So for 30 years, you've seen courage, clarity, and consistency, and a champion for labor in Senator Sanders. And social, racial, economic, and environmental justice, as long as I can remember. And it always starts with respect. It starts with respect for the truth, respect and the value of the dignity of work, the right to organize, and being a champion for unions. There's never been a better champion for unions than Bernie Sanders. And he doesn't need polls, and he doesn't need to focus test stuff, because he listens to people, he respects people, he loves helping people. You can't fight for something you don't love. So, you know, Bernie is a true champion of labor. So thank you.
But just as he got off the stage, he told me that he wants you to text strike to 69238. Again, that's text strike to 69238. Special message from John Cusack. Right here to you. All right. Y'all got a hell of a union. And this union is like the blood that makes Chicago work. You know, you're educating our kids. For so many of our kids that do not have a stable household, you provide that stability in the school, in the parks. You all are the ones that are educating the future and ensuring that our kids have safety, stability. And that's why you're fighting for smaller class sizes. That's why you're fighting for prep time. That's why you're fighting for nurses. That's why you're fighting for the schools that we deserve. So it's my great pleasure to bring up our next speaker, the president of this mighty fighting union, Jesse Sharkey!
I want to welcome you to this hall. It's a hall that Karen Lewis built, and it's dedicated to the great fighting president of the CTU, President Vaughn. I want to remind everyone in this hall that we are the ones who teach the classes, who staff the offices, who guide the students when they're lost, comfort them when they despair, and lift them up, and do our best every day to educate the future generation and to send them on their way to a bright future. That's right. It is our profound honor to work with young people. We never take it for granted that we have their trust and the trust of their parents and the people who raise them at home. And the bedrock of that trust, the principle on which that trust is built, is the fact that we uphold the promise of public education when we go to school. So for us, the work of our union is that public education stands for something. It stands for the future, the promise of future generations. It stands for what our country should be. It stands for our aspirations and our hope for the young and for the future. And that is what we represent when we go to work. That is what we represent when we put on a red shirt and when we stand together as a union, and nothing less. So we do not apologize when we demand pay and benefits, because we deserve dignity at work. But it is about way more than just pay. It is about dignity. It is about the fact that our schools suffer from critical staffing shortages. It is about the people who go to work in the schools need support. We need co-workers who can support students who suffer from poverty and trauma. It's about smaller classes so that teachers can give students individual attention. It is at the schools Chicago students deserve. In 2016, the CTU struck for a day, demanding funding first. Remember that? Struck for a day in 2016. We are a bit ahead of our time. You know, the strikes for funding that swept West Virginia, across the country, Arizona, California, and whatnot. It took a little while for them to come. Maybe next time we should think bigger. You know, maybe for one city that wasn't enough. But you know, the legislature in Illinois did pass funding. It passed funding in August of 2017. $1 billion a year of new funding is coming to CPS. It means the funding is there. It means the money to make good on the promises for our children is there. Our movement for education justice has also become something of a political moment. The political moment is also here. We have a mayor of Chicago who ran on a promise of basic educational supports and transforming neighborhood schools and racial equity. She ran on that and won by an overwhelming landslide. But at the bargaining table, has she offered us smaller classes? No! Has she offered us a nurse in every school every day? No! A librarian or a social worker? No! No! What has she offered us? She's offered us higher pay. And so then, when her supporters have the gall to criticize our union for only caring about pay, for only caring about money, we have to ask, what is really behind that politically? We are going to vote to authorize a strike. We're at it now in our schools. If that's what it takes to get educational justice, if that's what it takes to get the political promises together with the money to wind up in writing that winds up in our contract, if that's what it takes, so be it. I prefer that it doesn't, but if that's what it takes, so be it. So let me speak clearly entirely in words of one syllable. We will stand for what's right in our schools. We will lead. If you cut me, I bleed CTU red. And if it takes a strike, so be it. We stand for our kids. I'll see you out there. At the helm of our Chicago Teachers Union. So, I got something wrong, y'all. You're not supposed to text strike to 69. You're supposed to strike CT who? CTU. CT who? CTU. You're supposed to strike CTU to 69238. I'm gonna blame this one. So, the next individual that's about to speak, who's about to bring up the man of the hour, she doesn't need any introduction. No introduction whatsoever. But you know her as someone that's been at the front lines of fights for social and economic justice her entire life. You know her as someone who was serving our kids on the Southeast Side, first as an educator, and now as Alderwoman of the 10th Ward. Our chair of the Progressive Caucus. Our chairwoman of the Workforce Committee on the Chicago City Council. Our fighter for working families, Sue Zenlowski Johnson.
Should be very nervous. Let me thank Sue Garza for that lovely introduction and for the great work she's doing on the Board of Aldermen. Let me thank Jesse Sharkey, Stacy Davis Gates, Crystal Williams Hayes, Maria Moreno. And let me thank the more than 25,000 members of the Chicago Teachers Union. And let me thank SEIU Local. And I want to thank all of you, staff, teachers, for becoming the conscience of the United States of America, here in Chicago and all over this country. What we are seeing is teachers standing up and fighting for justice. Thank you very much. You know, every problem in society, hunger, domestic violence, poverty, it walks into your doors, doesn't it? You see it every day. And at a time when we in the wealthiest country in the history of the world have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, you are demanding, and I am demanding, a change in national priorities. We have a dysfunctional child care system in which all over this country, Vermont, Chicago, all over this country, working class people cannot find the quality, affordable child care they need. You are standing up for a change in national priorities. At a time when great teachers, experienced teachers, are leaving the profession because they can't make an income to support their families, you are standing up for a change in national priorities. You want, and I want, that the teaching profession receive the honor and respect it deserves for the enormously important work you do. And I'm not here just to flatter you. I'm not here to say nice things about you. What I'm here to say is what you know. Anybody, I hear all these politicians, they got big flags behind them. They tell us how much they love America. If you love America, you love the children of America. You love the people who educate and take care of So we got a lot of work to do in front of us, and what we know when we change our national priorities, we ain't giving tax breaks to billionaires. We are investing in our kids, in our schools, and in our educators. Let me tell you some of what I think has to happen nationally and the role of the federal government in making it happen. Too many of our kids are going to schools that are inadequately funded, which is why in my education reform proposal, we triple funding for Title I schools. Teachers in Chicago and in Vermont and all over the country are dealing with kids who are walking in the door with a lot of issues. And that is why we're going to significantly underline, significantly increase funding for the IDEA program. Education. Education should not end just at the end of the school day, and that is why we are going to adequately fund after-school programs. Working parents have a right to know that their kids are going to be in a safe and constructive environment after school. They have a right to know that in the summertime their kids are going to get the educational and recreational opportunities that they need. We expand funding for universal education in this country. Children in Chicago or any other school district in the country should not be going to schools where the buildings need maintenance, where the kids do not have the latest and best technology available to them. And that is why we're going to put people to work rebuilding schools all over this country. That is what our in the United States, love you too. In the United States of America, it is an absolute disgrace that we have children who go hungry. And our plan is going to feed every child in this country who needs quality education. Something else we're going to do. I want the best and the brightest young people in college to say, I want to become a teacher because there's nothing more important that I can do. I want to become a teacher. I want to become a teacher or a support staff person. Thank you, support staff. You make the schools go. Because it is the right and patriotic thing to do. If we look to the future of this country, the children are the future. And we have a moral responsibility to make sure that those kids get the very best education that we can provide them. And that's what we do. Let me tell you something else that we're going to do. Racism and the sexism and the against the 1%. And when we talk about our young people, let me also say that in my view, I do not want one kid in this country who is in the 11th grade or 12th grade to think that he or she cannot get a higher education because their family wants to go. 4 years ago when I came to Chicago, I campaigned here, I said, we must make public colleges and universities tuition free. And in the last 4 years, 12 states in this country have moved in that direction. And when we are in the White House together, we're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free in every state in this country. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you are dealing with student debt? Raise your hand. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do about that one. 11 years ago, as you all remember, against my vote, the United States Congress bailed out the crooks on Wall Street to the tune of trillions of dollars of zero-interest loans from the Federal Reserve. 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and large, profitable corporations. Well, it seems to me that if we can bail out the crooks on Wall Street, if we can tax breaks to billionaires, we can cancel all student tax. I will tell you how we're going to pay for it. My critics, of which, needless to say, there are more than a few, and they say, hey, Bernie, you're such a nice guy, giving away all of this. How are you going to pay for it? I will tell you exactly how we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it through a tax on Wall Street speculation. And it is time of massive and grotesque income and wealth inequality in America, when 3 people on the top own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people. You got that? 3 people. At a time when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%. At a time when 49% of all new income goes to the top 1%. At a time when over the last 30 years, the top 1% saw their wealth increase by $21 trillion, while the bottom half of American society saw a decline in their wealth. So it seems to me that we know where the money is. And under our administration, the billionaire class and the large profitable corporations will start paying their fair share of taxes. We just yesterday introduced a tax on wealth which says to the top 1/2 of 1% that we're going to tax the very richest people in this country so that we adequately fund housing, we adequately fund childcare, and recreate a Medicare for all healthcare system. Brothers and sisters, healthcare is a human right, not a right. And in Canada, with our neighbors in Canada and countries all over this world, can make sure that people get all the health care that they need as a right, we are prepared to take on the greed of the drug companies and the insurance companies. With you tonight to say to the city of Chicago, sit down with the CTU, sit down with the SEIU, and negotiate a good faith contract that is just, that is fair, that treats the teachers and staff in the city with the respect and dignity that they deserve. I say to the city of Chicago, sit down and negotiate a contract that substantially reduces class sizes. It's no great secret that kids can't learn and teachers can't teach if the class size is too high. Tonight I say to the city of Chicago, substantially increase the pay and benefits for teachers in Chicago. And the support staff in Chicago. Tonight I say to the city of Chicago, we are going to have a Medicare for all, but we're not there yet. So sign a contract with the unions that does not force them to pay more for their health care that they need. Tonight I say to the city of Chicago, sign a contract that deals with the desperate shortage of school nurses, of social workers, of librarians, and of other critical staff that keep our schools going. Now, the proposal that I brought forth on education ends all private charter schools in this country. Tonight I say to the city of Chicago, sign a contract with the unions that does not expand charter schools in Chicago. Brothers and sisters, I just want to thank you so much for two reasons. Number one, I want you to know that you are doing some of the most important work that can possibly be done in our country. You are giving hope to the children, you're giving love to the kids, you are educating the kids, you're preparing the kids at a very difficult time to go out in the world and succeed. To my mind, when we talk about valuing work. It's not the hedge fund managers on Wall Street that we should value. It is the teachers of this country. It is the staffers in this country. It is the school nurses and the librarians. So thank you so much for loving the kids and wanting these kids to do well. And that's reason number one. And reason number two that I'm here to thank you is you understand what I understand. Is that for the last 45 years there has been a war in this country by the corporate elite against the working class of our nation. The rich become phenomenally richer and the working class struggles. And what we are here to say is that you know and I know that the only way we grow the working class in this country, the only way we bring prosperity to working people is when we significantly increase membership in trade unions all over the world. Very good news is that all across America there are millions of working people who want to join unions. Because they know that alone they can't negotiate anything. But when people are united and stand together, you can get decent wages and decent working people. Legislation which will make it easier for workers to join a union if 50% of the workers in a bargaining unit plus one sign a card saying they want to join a union. So right now, in an unprecedented and dangerous moment in American history, our job is twofold. Number one, it goes without saying, we have got to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history. But second of all, in the richest country in the history of the world, we are going to create an economy and a government that works for the working people of this country. Not just working people. Thank you so much in standing up for the kids. Let's go forward together. Let's win this thing. Thank you.